4, 3, 2, 1. Now live.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
So were there any meetings last night?
No. Well,
Nothing.
no, there was. There was planning board, but I wasn't there.
Okay. All right. So somebody else was.
Part-timers are starting to do some shifts, so.
Ooh, I bet that feels nice, Pete.
It's interesting because Monday I was all geared up to do a couple of meetings, and then everything got moved.
I heard finance was canceled.
Right. And
much to the chagrin of those department heads that were supposed to present.
Right. And then school committee, I don't think they could have got a quorum on Monday night, so they moved to Wednesday.
Okay. All right.
So I'm preparing to do that tonight.
Yeah, there were some.
Board of Health.
We had a department head meeting yesterday morning over at the senior center with the mayor, and there were some department heads that were not happy that.
And there was no way I could make it over to that one. I was stuck here, so.
Yeah. Well, it was a good meeting. You know, Mayor McCabe, that was his first department head meeting with us, and he did a nice job. And it was good. He'd like to do it quarterly, which I think is appropriate.
Okay.
So he gave me. So it was hysterical because Mayor McCabe is very, very linear. Has his schedule and so forth. So he said, okay, we're going to do it quarterly. So the next one is going to be the first Tuesday in September, and he gave us the date. And I was sitting with the city clerk, who was soon to be the retired city clerk, but but I was sitting with Karen Fannion, and she leaned over, and Mayor McCabe looked at me because he wants to hold them at the senior center. He said, "Okay, Tina, am I giving you enough notice? So get that on the calendar." I said, "Thank you, Mayor." Karen leaned over to me and she said, "Is that the day after Labor Day?" And so a little quick, calculation. Yes, she said, "Well, that's election day, so we are not going to be doing that. We're not going to be holding a department head meeting on election day."
It'll be the day after that.
It'll be, either the day or the week. I don't know if he wants to keep it on Tuesdays, if there's a reason for that, or whether it'll be the next day. So to be determined, but anyway, it was a good meeting. All right, so June 8th, today is National Best Friends Day. So let's just get right out of the gate and talk about that. Whether they're near or far, old or new, best friends help carry us through our lives. This June 8th, National Best Friends Day, it's time to tell them how much we appreciate their company. As the Mayo Clinic reports, friends help you to cope with traumas such as divorce, serious illness, job loss, or the death of a loved one. They also encourage you to change or avoid unhealthy lifestyle habits such as excessive drinking or lack of exercise. Today's the day to enjoy a little one-on-one time with the people who never fail to catch us when we fall. We have our own country to thank for this light-hearted holiday. In 1935, the United States Congress gathered to devote a day each year in tribute to close friends. They chose June 8th, which is usually a balmy day in all regions of the country, perfect for outdoor activities. Since then, many other countries have adopted the practice. Some even throw festivals to celebrate their chosen family. While the holiday seems to have lost popularity through the years, it has seen a recent upsurge in engagement since the advent of social media. Now, on June 8th every year, people rush to post fun photographs of themselves and their most trusted friends. So happy National Best Friends Day. Do you have a best friend, Pete? Some people do, some people don't. Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I have a few close friends that are kind of ebb and flow in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Some near, some far.
Yep. I would say
I have a lot of acquaintances.
Yes, and a lot of people do. They've got a lot of acquaintances or a lot of friends, but not, sort of best friends that they're. I have a friend, my friend Linda Pesci, who was here 5 years ago. Our birthdays are a week apart, so she came up to celebrate our big 60th together when I threw my big party at the senior center.
Yep.
And Linda was a college roommate of mine. She and I roomed together when we were at James Madison University. And Linda is one of those friends. She lives in the D.C. the D.C. area. And she's just one of those friends that even if I don't see her for 5 years, we get on the phone and we're on the phone for 3 hours. It's like we just talked to each other last week.
I think it's how Bob Plass is with Jim Quinn, his old college roommate. Jim Quinn, he's the same way.
Yeah.
They get together, the thickest thieves on the air when they get together. It's funny as hell.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting whacked, aren't you?
Oh, my gosh. It's allergy season, and I've done not as bad as some. I mean, some people are just, but today, I don't know, it's the rain, and I was fine. Well, I woke up, I got ready to come in. I've been up since 4:15, and
Did you turn the heat on in your car?
no.
I was going to say that would do it.
No.
'Cause that would-
because it's because
That
it
would
would
blow that stuff
bring
around.
everything in. No, it didn't.
Huh.
And I saw this commercial yesterday for. It's the first time I've seen it. I think it was Gary and I were watching Jeopardy, and it was on during Jeopardy. It was about some filter thing that you can change on your own in your car, and I said it's like under the
Cabin
glove
filter.
compartment.
Yeah, cabin filter.
I never
Some
even knew
cars
that existed.
easier than others.
Okay.
I have them change it like every third oil change.
I never even knew that was there. I'm gonna because
Yeah.
I have to go in for an oil change anyway, so I'm gonna
Yep.
take it in and tell them to do that.
They can change your cabin filter. Yeah.
Didn't even know I had one, but I've been enlightened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? I want to do this first up in this first few minutes. So I am a huge fan of Michael Dobbs, who is what is it? He works for the Reminder and the Republican.
He's the publisher of the Reminder.
He's the publisher.
Yep.
Well, every week when the Reminder comes out, I kind of skim through and I look and see, and if there are any articles. Oh, it was really funny yesterday, Pete. I was skimming through last week's Reminder, and I went to the Westfield page, and there was a page on the mayor talking about the surging cost of fuel.
Everything.
And, fuel, and the fact that he had encouraged his department heads to make sure that they pay attention to that line item in their budget for next year. So I'm reading the article, and about halfway through, I'm reading about me. It's really funny when you don't know that someone's written about you, and all of a sudden you're reading your own quotes and things like that. And
I'd rather not know.
yeah, right. Well, it was really funny. So I'm going, wait a minute, here's my name. What are they saying? Well, basically what Mayor McCabe was saying was that I had, when I did my budget hearing, I explained to the city councilors, and I was one of the first ones to go. I was on I think the second night.
Yeah, you
so
were,
it
yeah.
hadn't come up yet, but I talked about the fact that I had increased that line item, by a lot, which normally I wouldn't have done, but because I had to go back to council the month before and say I ran out of money for my my fiscal year 22 budget to pay my fuel bill because we didn't know that the prices were going to skyrocket. But anyway, I digress. So that's that's my thing for the Reminder. But usually on the last page or one of the last pages, there is an opinion page. And Michael Dobbs writes a piece. First of all, I love his writing style. Second of all, he's a little, I just learned in this piece, he's a few years older than I am. So, I kind of relate to a lot of what he, how he thinks and what he writes about. And he wrote about this, and I just thought I just started laughing when I read it. The title of it is Reaching This Life Milestone is a Little Unreal. And he talks about two things that are going on in his life. It was getting older and his 50th high school class reunion or 50th high school class anniversary, because I guess they haven't planned a reunion yet. But anyway, he says at the beginning, he said, okay, I have a double whammy coming up, a birthday and a milestone. And he says, I'm just going to read the beginning of this because this is what I was cracking up. I'm increasingly used to the fact that I am way over the line of being a senior citizen. A good test for this fact is acknowledging I have no idea who the musical guests are on Saturday Night Live. I would say that condition has existed for maybe 20 years. Being out of touch with the nuances of popular culture, who are these people? I frequently ask my TV, is just one of the signs of growing older. I love this because like the day before yesterday, Gary and I are watching TV and a commercial comes on for Saturday Night Live. And that is exactly what we both said. I'm like, Gary and I are looking at each other going, I don't know any of these musical guests. Like, who are these people? Like, I have no idea who they are. And just the fact that he wrote that, it just cracked me up because I thought, okay, it's not just Gary and me, which is, you start to think that I'm the only person.
Yeah.
I just love
Or
him.
you sit there and you go, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, really?
This is horrible.
I know. I know. I feel like I'm
You're
sounding
not trying
like
to be
my
rude or
parents.
anything. You're just sitting there
No.
going, this is horrible.
Yeah. So
and nowadays it's easy to say that because all the music is way over processed. It's all electronic.
I know.
Even the voices are processed.
I know.
It's like sing, just
and I hate
sing.
that. I know. I feel like we should go back to like the coffee shop days where it's just like somebody strumming a guitar and it's their real voice without all this other stuff, and it's really pure, and that's how you can tell when someone's
As some of my friends who
exceptional
are
singer.
musicians say, auto tuning killed the music business.
Yeah.
You know what auto tuning is? If your voice is off or
Mm-hmm.
your pitch is off, there's an actual device that will correct that. And make
It's
it
like
sound
Photoshop
right.
of the music business, right? It'll just like make the correction.
But it even does it live.
Oh, it does?
Oh, there's an auto. They bring auto tuners on.
Wow.
Because as the shows got more and more dancey
Yeah.
and more movement,
Yes.
you can't sing that well while you're moving like that.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Because
can't.
I have
Or
often
it's tracked.
I have often wondered that. I'm like, how in the world can these people
Right.
sing while they are dancing? The rest of us would be, and I'm in decent shape. I think about it, but I would be completely out of breath.
Or they're
panting.
Or they're playing back a track.
Okay.
So the band might be playing,
Okay.
but they're playing back a vocal track.
That's how they do it.
You can't do it. Yeah, there's no way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, for those of you who don't read Michael Dobbs, just read a couple of his articles. They're really good. I think especially my seniors would appreciate.
Michael's a love it or hate it kind of guy because I know some people that actually hate him.
Really?
Not
really?
like hate him and want him to see a harm to him.
Yeah.
Just can't stand him.
Well-
He drives them nuts.
Really?
Yes.
Is that in I've never met him in person, or is that just his
But
writing?
in
Or a little both?
I think a little of both. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's they're so funny because he talks
I'll
about.
name names, but not on the air.
Yeah, no, that's quite all right. Where
My mom used to work for him.
she did?
Yes, for years my mom did typed in all the legal notices for the Reminder publications. That was her part-time job at night. She would work for the Reminder, literally taking all the legal notices and typing them into the system to be published.
Oh wow.
And the work kind of dried up over the years because nobody really does that anymore.
Yeah.
And so eventually she just ran out. They never fired her. Or she never got let go, but she ran out of work.
Yeah, she
she's like,
she just
I
kind
can't
of
keep-
faded off into the sunset.
She's like, I can't keep coming in and taking your money, and I'm really
Yeah.
not doing anything. So,
Oh, well, he writes.
but Mike did remember. I saw Mike at
yeah,
he
you
was
said
at
you saw you
John
said he's-
O'Brien's first
right.
podcast.
You saw him recently.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I remember you mentioned him, and I thought, oh man, I'd love to meet him. He put somewhere in here. He graduated in the class of 72. Now I graduated in the class of 75. So now I know exactly how old he is.
I was 1 year old.
Yeah. Okay, Pete. I know. I was talking to somebody
I
over
feel
at
that way
City
about some of these kids here. They're like, oh, they're going through the old yearbooks here from Westfield Tech.
Yeah.
Oh, my dad graduated here in 1980, and I'm like, I was like, or no, like one kid said graduated here in 89 or something.
Okay.
I was like, I was already out of high school in 89. Yeah, Matt goes, I was already teaching here. Matt Zaklecki goes,
Yeah,
I was
Matt
already
Zaklecki,
teaching
yeah.
here. And I'm
Oh, my
like, oh my
goodness.
God.
Yep. Well, speaking of Michael Dobbs, you love him or you hate him. There was a little piece in the article where he says there's been no mention that I can see about any sort of class reunion. I'm friends with several of my classmates on social media, several of whom make sure that I know that they don't approve of my politics. So yeah, he gets it. All right. Anyway, so that's all that. Let's take a break. It is 6:15. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So in honor of National Best Friends Day, we are going to play Andrew Gold's song, Thank You for Being a Friend. We'll be back.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down a road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, well, you would see the big a car you lack, I'd surely buy you a Cadillac. Whatever you need, any time of the day or night. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And when we both get older, with walking canes and hair of gray, have no fear, even though it's hard to hear. I will stand real close and say thank you for being a friend. I wanna 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 thank you. Let me tell you about a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. And when we die and float away into the night, the Milky Way, you'll hear me call as we ascend. I'll say your name, then once again, thank you for being a Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. People, let me tell you about a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. Whoa, tell you about a friend right now. Thank you for being a friend. Tell you about a pal, and I'll tell you thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:21. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So June is Pride Month, and I know that I tuned in. I was listening to Bob Plass's Wow, It's Tuesday show yesterday on my way into work. So I know that Bob talked a little bit about this, but let's get into it a little bit more. So Gay Pride is a movement that celebrates sexual diversity for those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, also sometimes abbreviated as LGBT. It is a way of protesting discrimination and violence against them. Pride Month promotes their dignity, equal rights, self-affirmation, and is a way of increasing society's awareness of the issues those in the LGBT community face. Every year during the month of June, the LGBT community celebrates in a number of different ways. Across the globe, various events are held during this special month as a way of recognizing the influence that those who identify as LGBTQ+ have had around the world. And why was June chosen? Because it is when the Stonewall riots took place back in 1969. The riots were prompted by a raid that took place during the early morning at the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village, Manhattan. The LGBT community held a series of spontaneous, often violent demonstrations to protest against the raid and call for the establishment of places that gays and lesbians could go and be open about their sexual orientation. In such places, there should be no fears of being arrested. The riots served as a catalyst for the rights of those in the LGBT community. Within 6 months, 2 gay activist groups had formed in New York. Over the years since the event, many gay rights organizations have been formed globally. In addition to being a month-long celebration, Pride Month is also an opportunity to peacefully protest and raise political awareness of current issues facing the community. Parades are a prominent feature of Pride Month, and there are many street parties, community events, poetry readings, public speaking, street festivals, and educational sessions, all of which are covered by mainstream media and attract millions of participants. Although negative attitudes and injustices still remain, we've come a long way since the riots of 1969. By continuing in this long-standing tradition, we continue to raise awareness, improve the attitudes of society, and encourage inclusiveness. And, toward that end, I put an article in this month's Voice of Experience newsletter, the Senior Center newsletter, that the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, which is the cabinet-level branch that oversees the councils on aging, the senior centers, assisted living, the nursing homes, anything to do with older adults, they have mandated now a training for all Council on Aging staff and board members and volunteers on working with older adults who identify as LGBTQ. And it's a really interesting training. The Council on Aging staff I have one staff member that still has to take it. The rest of us have all taken it. It's about an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half to do the training. It's online. There are some role plays on, ways to communicate with those in the LGBT community who might be hesitant to, express their gender or sexual identity. And it's a really good training. And so the board members, I believe now all of the board members have taken it except for one. And she was having some computer issues. So we're going to have her take it at the senior center. And then the volunteers are starting to do it. And so we've gotten some really good feedback about the training. And I applaud the Executive Office of Elder Affairs for mandating it, because sometimes that's the only way you can get people to do these things is to say, well, your funding is dependent upon it. So, you really need to. But I know, right, Pete, Bob was kind of went through it. When I tuned in, he was talking about some issues at one of the Pumpkin Fest with one of the church organizations that was we love you, Bob, but kind of thing.
Yeah, but
so interesting.
The thing is, that's okay too.
Yeah,
everybody's okay
yes.
to. I at the time I had issue with Bob about that, but like they have a right to be there too, Bob.
Sure.
And he wanted them to cover a sign, and it's like, no, you're protesting, and you're trying to do what you say that they are doing to you. Mm-hmm. And I had a problem with that. But that's we had that out out years ago.
Yep. And I think too, I think for myself and for some of my colleagues and certainly some of the seniors. Education is just so helpful because when you begin to understand things, there's been a lot that I've heard recently on about several programs that have to do with political dialogue, like people. Just, common folks who have very different political views getting together and sitting down and just very calmly sort of explaining why they have a certain position or a certain view.
I think we had them on years ago. Something about something angels or something like that.
Yeah, there are.
I think there
are
was two guys, Rob something was
Okay.
his name. We had him on. I think he was on George Delisle's show. And maybe somebody else's, but they kind of get together, and you're not allowed to shout at each other, but you're allowed to debate the issue.
Right, and it's just, this is, I know that there are several groups that have started. It started as a research base, like, can people actually come together? And it's been really interesting because the people that have participated said, it really made me stop and begin to understand, even though, sometimes you get to, we can agree to disagree, but we don't have to be enemies. And you know what? You have some valid points there. I get that, it's because most issues are not completely black and white, folks.
No, none of them are.
A lot of gray areas, and a lot of it depends on where you're coming from. Gary and I had that. We had discussion last night about that. It just depends on your perspective, your life experiences. So happy Pride Month. We have we have a Pride banner. We welcome everyone at the Senior Center hanging over the front door. We've actually gotten some really nice comments from some of the seniors and, sort of great banner. Thanks for hanging the sign. So all good. And we are absolutely celebrating that. So before we get into, we have tons of stuff with birthdays and events coming up at the Senior Center. I will do one thing before we take our half-hour break. I was schooled by one of my seniors coming through the lunch line, who said to me, and I promised him that I would make this correction on air. So last week, it was the birthday of Brigham Young, religious leader and politician, and I said that he was born in Whittingham, Vermont. And Kevin Nutting, one of our viewers, said to me, he was coming through the lunch line, and he said, Tina, it's actually pronounced Whitingham, Vermont. And he knows this because I believe he said his mother was either born or grew up in Whitingham, Vermont. And I think he was a little hesitant to correct me. And I said, no, absolutely. Let me know that because I don't want to be mispronouncing. Sometimes I have a hard time pronouncing certain things, and you can actually Google something and say, how do you pronounce this? And you'll get, it'll give you the voice
pronunciation guide.
Yeah, the pronunciation guide. So anyway, I stand corrected, and thank you, Kevin, for letting us know that. So it is Whitingham, Vermont. I did mean to check and look at a map, which I forgot to do that, and just kind of see where it is in Vermont. I'm not exactly sure where, but anyway. All right, so let's take a break. It is 6:30. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So we're going to sing kind of the ballad for Gay Pride Month, which is Lady Gaga singing Born This Way. We will be back.
It doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M. Just put your paws up, 'cause you were born this way, baby. My mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in a glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. There's an way to say I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause I make no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't hurt yourself and regret, just love yourself instead. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way, born this way. just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Give yourself prudence and love your friends. Subway kid, rejoice your truth. In the religion of the insecure, I must be myself, respect my youth. A different law is not a sin. Believe capital H I am. Hey, hey, I love my life, I love this record, and me, I'm on it, rolling my eyes. I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't hurt yourself and regret. Just love yourself and your sin. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way, baby. I was born this way, born this way. There ain't no other way, baby. I was born. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Whether you're broke or evergreen, you're black, white, beige, chola descent, you're Lebanese, you're Orient. Whether life's disabilities left you outcast but leader teased, rejoice and love yourself today, 'cause baby, you were born this way. No matter gay, straight or bi, lesbian, transgender life, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born to survive. No matter black, white, or beige, chola or Orient made, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born to be brave. I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't judge yourself and regret. Just love yourself and yourself. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way, yeah. Oh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way, baby. I was born this way, born this way. There ain't no other way, baby. I was born now on the right track, baby. I was born this way. I was born this way. Hey, I was born this way. Hey, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Hey, I was born this way. Hey, I was born this way. Hey, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Hey. Same day.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And just to let people know, so second hour, we will be joined at around 7:15 or so by Ann Johnson. She's the program director for the Holyoke Medical Wound Care Center. And Ann's going to be talking a little bit about what a wound care center is and why we need that kind of a specialty here in Western Massachusetts. And also just some common summertime wounds and how to prevent them. And so it should be a really interesting second hour. But in the meantime, we have a lot of information. We have some famous birthdays and not so famous birthdays. And we have lots of stuff going on at the Senior Center. So let's get to it. So first of all, June is a huge month. Before I get into all the famous birthdays, let's do the infamous birthdays. We have 4 staff members at the Council on Aging who will be celebrating birthdays this month. We're all kind of, like within a 2-week period. So I'm going to start out by announcing that my own birthday is tomorrow. And this is, 5 years ago, we celebrated my 60th birthday. I threw myself a big fat party at the Senior Center. We had a ball because I was technically an older adult by Massachusetts standards when I turned 60. Well, guess what, folks? Tomorrow it's Medicare time. I have my Medicare card. I should have brought it with me. I have my Medicare card. I'm set to go. Now, a lot of people know that Karen Noblet is going to be retiring at the end of this month, our senior benefits coordinator. We don't talk about it much because I just figure if I don't talk about it, maybe it won't happen. But I did tell Karen a couple months ago, I said, you're not going anywhere until you help me to get all signed up for Medicare, which she did. And my card came in the mail. So now, we can deal with that. So it's my birthday tomorrow. Joanne Ortegas will celebrate her birthday on June 11th. So that's on Saturday? Yes, Saturday. Agnes Fleming will celebrate her birthday on June 17th. And Alex Hibbert will celebrate his birthday on June 29th. So we've got the oldest and the youngest this month because Agnes is our oldest employee. I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. And Alex is our youngest employee.
So you guys are all Labor Day kids. End of summer.
It was end of summer, Pete. It
Yeah,
was
end of
like
summer.
the last hurrah by
Right.
our moms and dads. But anyway, so those are our senior center birthdays. And speaking of our senior center birthdays, and there's another really important birthday coming up, and that is Mayor McCabe. His birthday is next week, and Mayor McCabe will turn 60. And don't think for one second that I haven't let him know that he is now eligible to become a member of the senior
Why didn't you
center.
sign him up when he was there for the department heads meeting?
Well, because I actually want to make, I'd rather do a big ceremony, over at City Hall. So toward that end, so because we have so much that we're celebrating.
You should have him on the show and do it on the show.
I know. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a great idea, Pete. Okay. All right.
I'm going to be in trouble for that.
Okay. No. I'm liking that idea. So toward that end, we are having a Happy Everything June curbside luncheon celebration next Thursday, so a week from tomorrow, June 16th. So first of all, we're honoring our fathers, grandfathers, and father figures, and godfathers, because it's Father's Day month.
Okay.
So we're going to do that. We are welcoming Mayor McCabe to the Older Adult Club. We are humoring me regarding my new Medicare status. We are wishing Karen Noblet well in her retirement, and we're celebrating Pride Month. So all of those things. So we just decided, I just said, you know what, one big party. We are having, so it'll be outside. It'll be our curbside lunch, which normally on Thursdays we have indoor dining, but we're going to do this next Thursday curbside. We're going to have live entertainment as you snake your car through the parking lot. Richie Mitnick and Dave Colucci will be on the patio entertaining you. So roll down your windows. It's nice and warm. It's on the menu is pulled pork and all the assorted things, but the big thing is our large classic ice cream sundae for dessert. So this will be a $5 event. Please call us and sign up because we already have over 100 people signed up for this meal, but we can accommodate more. So give us a call. I think we'll probably take reservations probably through the end of the day on Monday is my guess. So just give us a call at the Senior Center, 562-6435. You can sign up for yourself and one other person. It's just going to be a great time. We are also, here's my other plug. So we are also going to be selling we're doing a month-long, the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center is doing a month-long 50-50 raffle. So all of the money we collect over a month will be split. We're going to draw the winner on July 4th and announce the winner, notify them on the 5th of July. So as you can imagine, our greeter, Sandra Fisher, has taken on this project full force. So her goal, and this is a riot. So her goal is she wants to sell $100 worth of raffle tickets a day. Okay. And so far, Pete, she has met that goal. So far in the kitty, we have raised $500. That means if we drew the name today, the winner's going to get $250. But her overall goal for the month is to raise $2,000 so that the winner's going to win $1,000. We'll see if we get there, but she's well on her way. So we will be selling those raffle tickets also next Thursday, June 6th. They're available every day. And you can't walk in the senior center. You better have at least $1 with you. They're $1 a piece or 6 for $5. So we have a lot of people buying the pack. And Sandra, if you get a pack of 6, what she'll say to you is, let me have your name and phone number. She'll write it down, and then she'll fill out the rest of the tickets for you. You don't even have to stand and fill out tickets. So we're having a ball with that, but we'll be selling raffle tickets. She and Kathy Millis, who is our clerk and treasurer for the Friends Group, will be selling the 50/50 raffle tickets next Thursday at our Happy Everything June curbside luncheon. All right, let's get to some more birthdays. Okay, all right, these are the famous ones, not the Council on Aging ones, but it is the birthday of the late Barbara Pierce Bush, First Lady, born on this date in 1925 in New York City. She died April 17th, 2018 at the age of 92. Rarely has a First Lady been greeted by the American people and the press with the warmth accorded to Barbara Pierce Bush. Perhaps this is prompted by the image she calls everybody's grandmother. That's what she said about herself. People were comfortable with her white hair, her warm, relaxed manner, and her keen wit. In the suburban town of Rye, New York, Barbara Pierce had a happy childhood. She went to boarding school at Ashley Hall in South Carolina, and it was at a dance during Christmas vacation when she was only 16 that she met George Bush, a senior at Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts. They became engaged a year and a half later, just before he went off to war as a Navy torpedo bomber pilot. After the war, George graduated from Yale, and they set out for Texas to start their lives together. 6 children were born to Barbara and George Bush. George built a business in the oil industry and then turned to politics and public service. In those 44 years of marriage, Mrs. Bush managed 29 moves of the family.
Wow.
That's a lot I've moved a lot in my day, but that is a lot of moves.
Well, yeah, it's tough when you're in the military, too, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. When her husband was away, Barbara Bush became the family linchpin, providing everything from discipline to carpools. The death of their daughter, Robin, from leukemia when she was not quite 4, left George and Barbara Bush with a lifelong compassion. She says, because of Robin, George and I love every human more. Barbara Bush was always an asset to her husband during his campaigns for public office. Her friendly, forthright manner won her high marks from the voters and the press. As wife of the vice president, she selected the promotion of literacy as her special cause. As First Lady, she called working for a more literate America the most important issue we have. Involved with many organizations devoted to this cause, Barbara Bush became honorary chairman of the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. A strong advocate of volunteerism, Mrs. Bush helped many causes, including the homeless, AIDS, the elderly, and school volunteer programs. So happy birthday to the late Barbara Bush. And I would agree with that assessment. Like, I don't know anybody who didn't like Barbara. It didn't really matter what your political affiliation was. How could you not like Barbara Bush? She was just a really great lady. I just thought she was great. All right. It is also the birthday today of singer-songwriter Chuck Negron. He was born on this date in 1942 in the Bronx, so that makes him 80 years old today. Chuck Negron grew up in the Bronx, where he sang in local doo-wop groups and played basketball both in the schoolyard pickup games and at William Howard Taft High School. He was actually recruited to play basketball at a small community college in Santa Maria, California, and played later at California State University at Los Angeles. In 1967, singer Danny Hutton invited Chuck Negron to join him and Corey Wells to found the band Three Dog Night. The group became one of the most successful bands of the late 1960s and early 1970s, selling approximately 60 million records and earning gold records for singles that featured Negron as lead singer, including 1, Easy to Be Hard, Joy to the World, Old Fashioned Love Song, and The Show Must Go On. Negron developed a serious heroin addiction, which began in the early 1970s. Three Dog Night disbanded in 1976. After many attempts at rehabilitation, Negron overcame his addiction in 1991 and embarked on a solo career. He wrote his autobiography, Three Dog Nightmare, in which he describes his life as a high school athlete and a member of a successful rock band. He writes about his descent into drug abuse and attributes his recovery from heroin addiction to his turning to God in desperation after dropping out from more than 30 drug treatment facilities. That's like an unbelievable number. I know that was me. I was like, wow. But he did it. I mean, he's 80 years old. So congratulations and happy birthday to Chuck Negron from Three Dog Night. We'll do one more and then we'll take a break. It is the birthday of the late Jerry Stiller, comedian, actor, born on this day in 1927 in Brooklyn, New York. He also died at the age of 92, May 11th, 2020, just died a couple years ago. The comedy team Stiller and Mira, composed of Jerry Stiller and his wife Ann Mira, was successful throughout the 1960s, with numerous appearances on television variety programs, primarily on The Ed Sullivan Show. In 1970, they broke up the live act. Late in his career, Stiller earned the part of the short-tempered Frank Costanza, father of George Costanza, on the sitcom Seinfeld, a role which Stiller played from 1993 until 1998. Stiller's character was initially envisioned as meek, and it required him to wear a bald cap. After a couple of days of rehearsal, Stiller realized the character wasn't working, and he asked Seinfeld co-creator Larry David if he could perform the character in a different way, which was more in line with his final characterization on the show. For his portrayal,
Very over the top.
Yeah, very over the top. For his portrayal of Frank, Stiller gained widespread critical and popular acclaim, including being nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Comedy Series in 1997 and winning an American Comedy Award for Funniest Male Guest Appearance in a TV Series in 1998. After Seinfeld ended, Stiller had planned on retiring. However, he joined the cast of The King of Queens and played the role of Arthur Spooner, the father of Carrie Hefferman, from 1998 until 2007. Stiller was married to Ann Mira for over 60 years, from 1954 until her death on May 23, 2015. Mira was Irish Catholic and converted to Judaism before the couple's two children were born. They had a daughter, actress Amy Stiller, born in 1961, and a son, actor-comedian Ben Stiller, born in 1965. So happy birthday to the late Jerry Stiller. Festivus.
For the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us. That was George. George Costanza, or George Costanza's father. All right, it is 6:49. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC cable channel 15. So this song is going out to all of those COA staff that are having birthdays in June. It's by the Beatles, and it's called Birthday. Here we go.
Say
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:52. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. So, Pete, it was so funny because yesterday we had our annual meeting for the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center, and after the annual meeting, just the Friends board got together and had their meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So Harry Rock was there; he's on the board, and Christina Lovelace, and the rest of the board. And Harry was talking to them about the Westfield Council on Aging Presents series, and doing the shows and so forth. So he was talking about the background. And he said, oh, you have to tune in because, when you see, the background is like a green wall, but you should see what Pete's able to do. And so I was telling him, I said, yeah, my background is the town square, is the Park Square Green.
Yeah.
And I said, and it's what's really great is that it's live. So I said, you can actually, and Christina Lovelace was like in awe. She said, really? I said, yeah, you can see cars moving. It's whatever's going on from 6 to 8 on Wednesday morning is what's being shown behind me.
Right.
Yeah. And then, and Harry was describing the table, because I don't know how we got on the topic of, Photoshop and
Virtual
things like
sets.
that, virtual sets and things like that. It was really pretty fun. So, yeah. And I do want to make an apology. We were just talking about the Westfield Council on Aging series presents. And I had as you know, Pete, I had a phone call yesterday, a voicemail from someone who very much wanted to see the one that we're doing in June, which is elder law education. Attorney Mary Pyer Powers was Harry's guest, and this woman was all ready and turned on her TV, and it wasn't on. So she called me to find out what happened, and because she had the Voice of Experience newsletter, all the schedule was out. So I didn't know. And the funny thing was we were talking about that because it was going on, or we thought it was going on during our board meeting. And Harry said he was really anxious to see how it turned out. And apparently so was this viewer. So what happened was, Pete, I guess you had it.
When I scheduled it for the month, it didn't populate on Tuesdays.
Just on Thursdays, you had both.
It was like weird because I checked. I was like, all right, this Thursday, I was like, it's in the schedule.
Yep.
Then I went to next Tuesday and it wasn't in. Then I went to the following Tuesday and it wasn't in.
Okay.
It's like, that's just weird. So I redid it and then it populated.
Okay. So that
I don't know.
Yep. So that was the answer to the question. And her question was, when will the next time it'll be airing? So
Thursday.
it will air tomorrow at 2:50, right, Pete?
Right, yeah, same time.
Yep.
It would be the same time,
Yep.
2:50. Yeah.
Okay. And then it'll be on the Tuesdays, and Pete has it also scheduled for Thursdays. So
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon.
Yeah, I like to put them on more than once.
Yeah. So, and we do apologize for that. And then the other thing, Pete, that came up, and I don't know if you can answer this
I'll
question.
apologize for that. It was my fault. You throw it in there and generally it works.
Yeah.
And you don't check it.
Yeah.
Because it's just there.
Yep. No, I know. And you know what? It's so funny, Pete, because when we do the newsletter, I feel like I proof it like so many times. And, still there are times that as many times as I've looked at it and I proofed it and I've gone through the calendar back and forth, every once in a while there's just some mistake that we don't find it till one of the seniors finds it and says, oh, I thought that. And I was like, I can't believe I either put it in the wrong place or I forgot something or whatever.
Right.
So we're human and it happens. And
All right, before you take your top out of the hour, I got to run to the bathroom.
Yeah, go. Go. All right. We're going to do some birthdays. The late Joan Rivers, born on this day in 1933. Another comedian born in Brooklyn, New York, because remember, Jerry Stiller was also born in Brooklyn, New York. Joan Rivers died on September 4th, 2014, at the age of 81. Determined to succeed as a performer, Joan Rivers appeared in a number of small plays in the 1950s, including a role, because it's Pride Month, as a lesbian opposite an equally unknown, at the time, Barbara Streisand. Who knew? When it became apparent that acting was not her forte, Joan Rivers switched to comedy and spent the next 7 years doing the rounds of New York's comedy clubs. Her years as a struggling performer in the coffee houses of Greenwich Village gave Rivers the experience she needed, and her big break finally came along in 1965. A booking on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson ignited her career, and she was an instant hit. In the late 1960s, Rivers landed her own program, which featured guests like Florence Henderson, Soupy Sales, and Jerry Lewis. She also continued to appear on Johnny Carson's program as well as The Ed Sullivan Show. Before long, Rivers became a household name. By 1983, she was headlining in Las Vegas, had a Grammy Award-nominated comedy album, and 2 best-selling books. That same year, she became Carson's permanent guest host. Rivers also established herself as an entertainment commentator, serving as host of the E! Series Live from the Red Carpet from 1996 to 2004. No celebrity was spared from her quips and cracks during her tenure. So happy birthday to the late Joan Rivers. Today, June 8th, is also the birthday of Nancy Sinatra, singer born on this day in 1940 in Jersey City, New Jersey. She's 82 years old. Nancy Sinatra is the eldest of 3 children born to the famed crooner Frank Sinatra and his wife Nancy Barbado Sinatra. She took lessons in piano, dance, dramatic performance, and voice. Nancy Sinatra started her career in 1960, debuting on the Frank Sinatra Timex show. Within the year, Reprise Records signed her. Though she was popular in Europe and Japan, none of her songs made the U.S. charts. Things turned around in 1966 when, armed with a new tough and sexy image, she hit #1 with her single, These Boots Are Made for Walkin'. This success would tie go-go boots to the singer throughout her entire career. From 1966 through 67, Nancy Sinatra scored many hit singles, including How Does That Grab You, Darlin'? And Sugartown. She also recorded the theme song to the James Bond film You Only Live Twice, and she had a #1 hit record with her father titled Something Stupid. Sinatra's popularity and looks made her a favorite pinup for GIs during the Vietnam War. Nancy, in turn, supported the troops by performing for them overseas. In 2006, the USO of Chicago honored her with the Heart of a Patriot Award, and the following year, the Vietnam Veterans of America presented her with their President's Award for Excellence in the Arts. So happy 82nd birthday to Nancy Sinatra. And lastly, but certainly not least, it is the birthday of Tim Berners-Lee, computer scientist born on this date in London. He is 67 years old today, and this just blows me away. His age blows me away when you find out what he did. Timothy John Berners-Lee is an English computer scientist, best known as the inventor of the World Wide Web. He is a fellow of computer science at the University of Oxford and a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Berners-Lee proposed an information management system on March 12, 1989, then implemented the first successful communication between a hypertext transfer protocol, that HTTP client, and server via the internet in mid-November at the age of 34. That's what blows me away. 34 years old. Berners-Lee is the director of the World Wide Web Consortium, which oversees the continued development of the web. He was named in Time magazine's list of the 100 most important people of the 20th century and has received a number of other accolades for his invention.
And I think that was a part of a DARPA project. It was Defense Department
That
originally had started the funding for that.
Okay.
For the internet in general.
In general.
And I think they were also looking for a quicker way to access data. And I think a lot of these major leaps in technology had some funding in the military to begin with.
Okay.
Because they were like, well, we want to develop this for us, and there's other uses for it too.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it was really funny because I can remember years ago, my best friend, Linda Pesci. Her husband, Nick, was in, he's actually still working. He's older than I am and still working a zillion hours a week. Was in, he worked for AT&T and Ma Bell for a while and got into the whole data thing. And I remember many years ago him describing to me the World Wide Web, which it wasn't known yet. So this was just, if you were in the field, you saw this coming.
Yep.
And he was trying to describe what was going to happen. And Pete, I could not get a grasp on this because he's like, okay, you're going to be able to go to a computer. Now, remember, this was like back before computers were, and not everybody had a computer
in the 90s.
by any, right,
this
exactly.
Is in the 90s,
it was
I remember when it started.
And he said, and you're going to be able to go to a computer and you're going to be able to just plug in a topic and you're going to have information on that. And, it was like, and I just couldn't even fathom this.
Now you can't live without it.
Right. And now everybody knows what it is. But back then, without understanding what the World Wide Web was, I was like, well, what do you mean? Like an encyclopedia? Oh, no, even more than that. You'll be able to get people's addresses and you'll be able to get this, that, and the other thing. And, the concept was so foreign that it was just hard to grasp. I was
one of the early geeks on that one.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you were, Pete. So that's why I had to do his birthday. I was like, oh, my gosh, right up Pete's alley. All right. It is 7:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM. Radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. Let's take our top of the hour break. Then we'll do some little newsy notes. And at about 7:15, hopefully our guest, Ann Johnson,
She's walking
will be
in the
here.
door.
Oh, good. From the Wound Center. So she'll be on in a few minutes. We'll be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
From 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show.
Right here on WSKB 89.5.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:06. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
All right, so just a reminder that this morning at the Senior Center at 8:45 curbside, we will be doing sign-ups for our brand new chair yoga summer classes, as well as Carol Palmer's Totally Fun Fitness class. As a reminder, the chair yoga classes are now broken down by levels. So we have progressive chair to floor yoga, we have gentle chair yoga, and we have in and out of the chair yoga. So they're offered at different times. On hand to help us with sign up this morning will be Terry Summers. Terry teaches the chair yoga classes.
Yep.
For anybody who's re-signing up and who's been taking the classes, Terry will kind of help to make sure that people are signing up for a class that's appropriate to their level. And that doesn't mean that you have to be able to do all this, because those who are willing to kind of stretch a little bit and say, well, I can't do the Florida chair yet, but I want to get there. So she'll be there to help with that process. So that will be this morning from 8:45 to 9:15 is sign up. You're going to snake your way through the parking lot, so please make sure that you just follow the cones will be set up there for you. Also, Carol Palmer's Totally Fun Fitness class. Carol will just be offering one session this summer. It's a 6-week session. It'll go from 10:30 to 11:30. So it's a 6-week session, just one, but it's an hour instead of the normal 45 minutes. So we'll be doing signups for that as well this morning. Also, just to remind folks, we are doing a collection for Ukraine. We are doing mostly hygiene products and some sort of medical products. So the items that we're looking for are things like anything to do with soap, shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrushes, floss, but also things like cotton balls, lip balm, bandages like Band-Aids, cough and cold medications, just over-the-counter, aloe vera gel, any of the antibiotic ointment and wipes, hydrocortisone cream, and individual packets of the wet wipes. So if you have any of those items, new items, please, that you'd like to donate, we have a basket in the foyer or the lobby of the Senior Center. You can drop those off. We're collecting throughout the month of June. We have several boxes already that we're ready to take over to the Full Gospel Church on Union Street. We're partnering with them for that. Reminder, too, that generally, although next week is the exception, but generally we are doing indoor dining on Tuesdays and Thursdays, curbside dining on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The process is the same. You call in to make your reservation between 8:30 and 9:15 in the morning. Unfortunately, for the indoor dining, we are not allowing any walk-ins, so you do need to call and make your reservation. We're just preparing enough food. With the price of food, we don't want to be guessing how many we think we might have. We're just taking out in the morning, as much as we need for our diners. So just call the Senior Center, 562-6435 for between 8:30 and 9:15, and make sure that you do it by 9:15, because that's when we give the final count. Sometimes we have people who are call us at like 10 o'clock or 10:30. Is it too late? Yeah, it is. Okay, also a reminder, we have nursing services available daily at the Senior Center. Evelyn Bristol from the Health Department now has an office at the Senior Center. We are keeping her busier and busier as the days go on. We do ask that you call Evelyn, even if you want to come in the same day, but call her in the morning just set up an appointment. And the only reason for that is because we also have Evelyn doing some home visits. She's going out with our outreach coordinator, Joanne Ortegas, and our companion program coordinator, Joyce Peregrine, on some of their visits with some of their folks who are homebound. And so we just don't want you to show up and she's out on a home visit and isn't going to be back for, an hour and a half. So just give a call in the morning. She generally knows what her schedule is for the day. And of course, she also has some duties through the health department. So we just want to make sure that she's available for you. But we certainly have seniors that are really starting to take advantage of the fact that we have Evelyn there. She'll do blood pressure checks. She'll try to get in touch with a physician if you need help with reaching your medical provider. She'll do blood glucose testing, especially for those of you who are newly diagnosed with diabetes, and health education. She'll just help to sort things out for you. So she's a wonderful person. Also, Pete and I talked about it before, but just one more reminder that this month our Westfield Council on Aging Presents series is featuring attorney Mary Pyer Powers, and we have entitled this Elder Law Education. This is an entire movement. The month of May and June, really, the 2 months, are the State Bar Association, the Massachusetts State Bar Association, really focuses on elder law and what senior citizens need to know, what older adults need to know, plans that they need to make, not just a will. A lot of people, feel, well, I have my will, so I'm all set. Well, no, you need a healthcare proxy and you need a durable power of attorney. And, there are some other legal documents that you might want to have. You might choose not to, but it's good to know what your options are. So this is a good all-around education. And then just 2 more plugs for some of our game folks, our chess players, our chess group. They play on Wednesday afternoons at the Senior Center. Always looking for new members to come and join them, whether you are a novice or whether you're an experienced chess player, or if you don't know how to play chess, they'll teach you how. So they have all different levels. They are just a fabulous group. They're one of my most favorite groups at the Senior Center. They're just they're so helpful to each other. They get really involved in their game, and it's like a library when you go in there. We have them in the Creativity Center because everybody's pondering their next move. And then we've also started a new group, which they're having a blast. It's Monday afternoons. If you'd like to learn how to play Mexican trained dominoes, apparently this is like the new rage. So we have a group that's playing that. They're upstairs in the games room. They gather at 1 o'clock on Monday afternoons and are having a great time, and would love to welcome more people to join them with that as well. All right, it is 7:14. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My guest coming up after this break is Ann Johnson. She's with the Holyoke Wound Care Center, so stay tuned for that. And while we get Ann settled in here, we're going to listen to Three Dog Night singing Joy to the World in honor of the birthday of Chuck Negron. We'll be back.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never understood a single word he said, but I helped him drink his wine. And he always had some mighty fine wine, singing joy to the world. All the boys and girls
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:18. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. Pete Coles is behind the boards back there, and my guest this morning is Ann Johnson, program director for the Holyoke Medical Wound Care Center. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Welcome.
Thank you.
This
It's
is
great to be here.
I know, it's great to see you. This is not your first time.
No,
but it's been a while.
2 years ago, just before the pandemic. I looked through my notes. It's like, holy cow. So
Yeah.
before and after.
Yeah, before and after for sure. Yeah, and it was funny because during the pandemic, Pete and I were here. He was behind his glass. I was here, and we had people. We did our interviews, and everybody was either on the phone. Most of them did it by phone. Some zoomed in, but and I remember the first time we had a guest back, and it was like, oh my gosh, there's someone here. But it's just nice now to have the guests that are in person. So, and you know what? Before we get into what a wound care center is, and because of an experience that one of my staff members is having, I'm becoming more familiar. But let's talk a little bit about you first, because it has been a couple years since you've been here, and just a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Where did you go to school? And I'm going to guess that when you were in third grade and your teacher said to you, what do you want to be when you grow up? You didn't say, I want to be the program director for a wound care center.
No,
I'm going to guess in third grade, when you were in third grade, they probably didn't have wound care centers.
No,
like
I
they
wasn't
do
even
today.
aware of it until I started to go work for one.
Oh, well, there you go.
Most people don't even realize that it's out there, that help is out there.
Okay.
You
Well,
know,
let's talk
third
about what
grade-
your background
Yeah,
is.
third grade, I was probably going to be a teacher or a nurse.
Yeah, because that's what all of us would,
Yeah,
teacher,
and then I
nurse, secretary,
Found out I didn't
hairdresser.
really have the stomach for a nurse. So, yeah. But I have a master's in business administration from Western New England. I've been in healthcare for 15 years in different positions and managing wound care for 7. So I've been at Holyoke Wound Care for 4 years.
Okay, great. So, and how did you branch off into healthcare from business administration? Like that's.
Well, it's healthcare management in a way, so I'm not on the clinical side of things. But I had worked at a publishing company and worked for a lot of different nonprofits, worked with a lot of different nonprofit healthcare organizations. Ended up with a business liaison job for a VNA.
Okay.
And that
Visiting Nurse Association,
right.
for those who don't know.
Visiting Nurse Association and hospice, and that kind of got me into the whole medical field of it, the business side of the medical field. So I did a lot of marketing and working with providers, trying to get them to understand our services and to help increase referrals. And then when my son was going into high school, it was time to get back into management, try to help him out for college. And so that's where an opening had come about, and I applied. And as I said, I wasn't even really sure what a wound care center is. And yet now they're so prevalent. I work for Holyoke, which manages over 600 wound care centers throughout the country.
What's really interesting to me, and the reason that I kind of prompted those questions is because we are at high school graduation time, college graduation time. And I think, a lot of times there are just so many types of jobs out there that people don't know about, so they don't think about them. And I'm always really curious, as to how people end up, especially somebody who's had a career, you've been in the field for a while. How did you end up where you are? Because I think that's an educational process for our young folks that are out there to kind of understand it's about networking, and it's about, I landed this job and that's how I learned about this whole thing over here that I didn't know about, and I was interested in that. So then I kind of went over there, and I think, it's just because your career path really evolves over time.
It does evolve, and a lot of the jobs out today weren't even around a
Right.
few years ago.
Right.
Everything changes. So,
Yeah.
the most important thing is to gain as much experience as you can and find out kind of what your strengths are and lean towards those.
Yep.
And it is networking. It's
Yep.
getting to know people and seeing what different jobs are, and even jobs themselves evolve.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And sometimes you can, I've done this on a couple of occasions. You can kind of create your own job. It's you see a need. I remember working for one of the. It wasn't called the ASAP then. It was a home health organization, and out in the Boston area. And there was a real need for a housing specialist. I was hired as a congregate housing coordinator. It was for a specific project. Those were new in the day. This was back in the 80s, I guess. And but what I was finding in that position, which was a part-time position, was that there were just all these questions about housing. And it was a very large agency, but we didn't have one person who specialized in getting the answers to those housing questions. And I ended up, writing a proposal and took it to the executive director and said, you really need this. And you could merge these two jobs. You could take this congregate housing coordinator project and expand it into a full-time position and create this housing specialist. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And they, it flew, and they took it to their funding source and said, this is what we want to do. So I think, you can be creative, and if you see a need, there are all kinds of ways to do that. So interesting.
When you get out of school, you don't necessarily know where your strengths are and your interests are, and what you think is what you want to do may not be what you want to do.
Right.
I was focused more in marketing, and I love the business development side of things, but I'm also found through other experiences that I'm strong operationally.
Sometimes
so to
too,
I
think.
Together,
I think sometimes too, other people will tell you what your strengths are. When you work for someone and they're saying to you, "Oh my gosh, you were so good at this," and they have a basis of comparison. I'm very organized. I always just assumed everybody was very organized because everybody in my family, that's kind of how I was brought up. But then when I started in the work world, I found out, well, that's not the case at all. So there's a real need for that, if that's something that a supervisor needs. So, so certainly be open to listening to what your supervisors and bosses tell you are your strengths, because you may not even realize that, and then you can kind of feed on that. So
not to be afraid to try new things.
Absolutely.
Because that's the only way you're going to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in trying new things, you ended up somehow at the Wound Care Center. So let's talk about, what is a wound care center?
Well, when you first hear of it, people get afraid, like, wounds. I don't have a wound.
Yeah.
But basically we all get cuts and blisters and sores and ulcers. And normally they will start to heal on their own. But if something hasn't healed after 4 weeks or hasn't started to heal after 2 weeks, that's when it can be considered a chronic wound. And that's where a wound care center comes in. Many people don't know about it, but it's a specialized program with specialized care to help heal those wounds. Because the longer a wound is open, the less likely it is to heal. And it's also an increased chance of infection.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my thing would be like, oh my gosh, worst case scenario is some kind of an infection. So, as you mentioned, Anne, I mean, most wounds heal. If you get a cut, you small cut or whatever, in most cases that's going to, heal on its own. We'll wash it and use some antiseptic and put a bandage on. Why is it that there are some kinds of wounds or some wounds that don't heal? Why would wounds not heal for the sort of the average person?
Well, there's a lot of different things that can go into it, and that's where the Wound Care Center, your first visit, they're kind of looking at your medical history and seeing what's going on. There's over 30 million Americans that have diabetes. Well, that delays wound healing, and it actually, you have an increased chance of a foot ulcer or something else because of circulation and nerve damage. You may not feel something in your foot, in your shoe.
Yeah.
And so there's also vascular disease has increased. So that, with the circulation issues, that kind of impedes wound healing.
So wounds really need blood circulation. So what I'm gathering out of this is so wounds really need good blood circulation to heal. That's part of the healing process.
They need the oxygen and the nutrients that the blood brings to those parts of the body to heal.
So people who are compromised with their blood circulation, And we know diabetes. That's one of the sort of side effects. One of the problems with diabetes, one of the complications of diabetes is poor blood circulation. And as you mentioned, and I've had this happen so many times with diabetics, where they'll get a wound on their foot and not feel it. So they don't know they even have it. So if you don't know you have a wound, you're not taking any special precautions. And then, suddenly you've got this major problem on your hand. And then, as you said, once you've got it and it starts to either, get bigger, get worse, get infected or whatever, and now you've got this chronic problem that you have to do something about.
And it's important to try to get it timely.
Yeah.
That's where, especially with diabetes, you have the neuropathy, they can't feel it. So there could be something in their shoe. They walk around barefoot, you step on something and don't even realize it.
Yep.
Something as simple as a grain of sand in your shoe as you're walking, you don't feel the rubbing.
Right, right.
A blister can all of a sudden just open up and there it is.
Yep.
But even people with vascular issues, arterial ulcers are pretty common because the blood isn't getting to that part. So you end up with it usually around the feet and the ankles.
Is that where you see a lot of the wounds? Is like foot? We've talked a lot about foot, ankle, or is that or not necessarily? It could be anywhere.
Not necessarily, but a lot of them are foot. 1 out of 4 diabetics will get a foot ulcer.
Wow.
When you have venous, it tends to be that's where the valves aren't working as efficiently.
Okay.
And so blood and fluid pool. And so that causes breakdown.
Yep.
And those tend to be the legs more so.
Yep.
Arterial tends to be the ankle and foot as well, and that's where the blood's not getting to it because it's your extremities. And if you think of it, look at the pounding that your feet take. They've got to carry you everywhere.
Yep.
They're not always elevated.
Right.
So, it puts more
it's hard to
pressure
give
on
them a
everything.
rest.
Right. But that's where it makes it so important to make sure that you're doing daily self-exams of your feet.
Yeah, and that's another problem, I think, for some of our older adults. If you're, if you have low vision, you've got limited vision problems, if you can't feel something and you're having a hard time seeing something, and if you've got, either mobility issues or arthritis or whatever, so sometimes it's hard to, bend over to kind of, you feel like you're a contortionist trying to see what's on the bottom of my feet. Sometimes that's helpful when you've got somebody else, a spouse, a caregiver, a child, a grandchild, somebody else who can kind of do that body check to help you to do that just in some of those areas.
You can also use mirrors.
Oh,
Put a mirror on the floor if you can't see the bottom of your feet.
Magnifying mirror,
glasses.
magnifying mirror too, the ones that magnify.
Ideally you're going for, medical professional view, whether it's dietary or PCP.
Yep.
But that with daily self-exams, because what'll happen is you can kind of keep an eye on it. You'll identify it sooner, and the sooner you realize there's an issue and can get help, then the better chance of healing and the lower the chance of infection.
Yeah. It's so funny, before, Ann, you were talking about the fact that, like, on your feet, the pounding that they take and so forth. So I had this really interesting experience, which is a microcosm of what we're talking about. But I ended up with a blister on the bottom of my foot that split, and it was, and it started bleeding. And, all of a sudden I've got like blood in my sock, and I'm going, what the heck? So I looked and I went, oh my God. And I could, it was painful, but I'm not exactly even sure how that happened or what happened, but it did. Might have been, it's the summer now, you're wearing sandals for the first time, shoes that I wasn't. So anyway, I said, okay, well, it wasn't big. So I put some ointment on, some, antiseptic ointment, and I put a Band-Aid on. Do you know, and the next day I'm at work and I'm going, this is really painful. So I had put a bandage, and then I had to put like a gauze pad just to give me a little bit more cushion. But I thought to myself, and it's been over a week. Now it's healing finally. But I thought to myself, this is taking forever to heal. Like normally I would heal a lot faster if it was on my hand or on my arm or something like that. But then I kept thinking to myself, but you know what, Tina, you're walking around. Now every night I would go to bed, take the bandage off, wash it, put some more antiseptic on, and then just kind of let it air, throughout the night. But that's the only time that it was really getting that air where I felt like it was healing. And you're right. I can see where, this little tiny thing could really blossom for somebody who's on their feet, not aware that there is a problem, so not really doing anything special. And all of a sudden, some little blister or some little cut from a grain of sand in your sock or your shoe turns into this big major ordeal.
Well, and sometimes, it's uncomfortable for you to walk with that.
Yes.
So I'm sure you took it a little bit easier.
I did.
Doing your power walks. But when that happens all the time, it's even more traumatic because now you're not able to move around as much. When you have the neuropathy, lack of feeling, the nerve damage, especially in the extremities, so with the feet, people can even step on nails and not realize it. I mean, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah, it's scary.
And, it is.
Scary stuff.
But you've mentioned sandals and barefoot. One of the big things is you really should wear shoes. Yeah. Closed-toed, supportive shoes. It's so important because in this type of weather, we're all ready to shed some of the layers and get comfortable. But those are really not good for your feet.
Yeah,
at
especially if you are diabetic or you have circulation problems or whatever. Yeah, you want to kind of be practical with your footwear for sure. All right, let's take a short break. It is 7:33. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My guest this morning is Ann Johnson, program director from Holyoke Medical Wound Care Center. So we're going to take just a short break, regroup here. And I decided this is my second Lady Gaga song today, but the name of the song is Heal Me. So I thought that was appropriate for our guest topic. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Treat me like a patient, just don't keep me waiting, or I'll just be wasted in a crowd of the lonely. I need you to inspire me when I can't inspire myself. I need you to provide for me when I feel like someone else. Lay me down now. Lay me down, touch my spirit, oh. Lay me down now. Lay me down. Heal me.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:38. Excuse me. It's all that frog in my throat. It's all those allergies. My guest this morning is Ann Johnson. She is the program director with the Holyoke Medical Wound Care Center. And where is the Holyoke Medical Wound Care Center located? All of a sudden I'm going, wait, where is this in Holyoke?
We are at 18 Hospital Drive in Holyoke. It's on the Holyoke Hospital campus.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
But we're our own building, which is really advantageous because you park right in front of our waiting room door.
Oh.
And there's no stairs to go in.
Perfect.
So it's great for people, especially if they have mobility issues.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so we've talked a little bit about a wound care center, so we know that it specializes in wounds. We've kind of talked about how a wound might become chronic with, especially for somebody who might have vascular issues or diabetes. So if someone has that problem and they're realizing that, hey, this has been several weeks, this is not healing, and I want to go to the wound, I think maybe I need the wound care center, maybe somebody's listening or they know of somebody. What's the process? What do they do? I mean, do they just show up on your doorstep? I would guess not. So
No.
what do they do? Okay.
Well, it is by appointment, but there's a few different avenues in. They may
Okay.
have seen their podiatrist or their primary care physician, at which point they can ask them for a referral. Or they can call us directly.
Okay, they can do that.
Yes, what we'll do is we'll take the information, we'll contact the doctor or wherever their last visit was just to get background.
Got it.
If their insurance requires referrals, we'll go and get those.
Okay.
So
That's. I mean, I think that's great because I think that can be a real,
It's
barrier.
overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be a barrier for people, especially now we're hearing the nightmare stories of I'm trying to get a hold of my primary care physician, someone in the office, they're not calling me back or I can't get through. So somebody could call you directly and say, I have this problem, set up the appointment, and you're going to get a hold of the doctor to say, okay,
we'll get
we
the
need
notes, and if we require a referral authorization, when they come to a wound care center, we're an outpatient department of the hospital.
Okay.
So there's a hospital fee, and then there's a provider fee for
Okay.
the doctor. So there
Okay.
are two different charges, but it goes through the insurance, and normal
Okay.
co-pays or co-insurance
Okay.
apply.
Okay.
But there's where some insurances require that we get an authorization and
Right.
others don't. So,
Okay.
we can figure that out. We can
Okay.
work with it. So we'll get your insurance information, we'll get who your doctor is, your address and things, and that can all be done over the phone. We'll set up an appointment. We do warn patients that the first appointment takes a good hour and a half.
And let me ask you this before we even get to the first appointment, because this is another issue that keeps coming up. If someone were to call, and how long what's kind of the average time that you can get them in there? Is it going to be several weeks? Is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be?
Ideally, we get them in within a few days.
Okay.
Sometimes
that's
it does
awesome.
a week.
Yeah.
But it depends
Still,
on
that's
schedules.
really great.
And then even then, as we get cancellations, we move people up.
Yeah.
So if
Yep.
they're out a week,
Yep.
we may call and say, hey. we
Hey,
can
somebody
get you
called
in.
this morning. Can you come at 3:00
Yeah.
today?
If somebody has a wound and they need urgent care.
Yeah.
We're not an urgent care provider.
Yep.
So if if there's redness, if there's a red streak, if they have a fever,
Right.
if there's
Yeah.
a lot of drainage, they might want to seek urgent care for
Yes.
that.
Yep.
Either a walk-in center or
Yep.
the ED.
Yep.
Because you don't want to mess with that. That's time
Yeah.
sensitive.
Yep.
But for somebody who has a wound, it's just not healing, and they want to come
Yep.
in, they can give us a call. We'll work to get them in. For their first appointment.
Yeah. What can they expect? So
Yeah.
now I go. Now you already said it's going to be a good.
We tell them it's
hour?
going to be a good hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
So
gonna be a
and they're
long
going to have to
appointment.
sign paperwork. It's only their name and date, but it's all the consents. We get their insurance card and their ID. We take a picture of that.
Yep.
So they'll go in and our nurse will assess them. They'll get their medical history, get a lot of their background, and that's what takes so long for the first visit. They'll look at the wound. They'll have the provider come in, and the provider will determine, what type of wound it is, and they'll try to piece together from the history and everything what might be preventing it from healing.
Okay.
They may order labs or cultures or
Okay.
other tests,
Okay.
depending on that visit.
Yeah.
But for that first visit, they'll come up with an individualized plan of care that they're going to work to
Implement,
on this.
yep.
And like I said, it depends on the type of wound and where it is. They may want to check to see if they need to put compression on to help with the circulation, or if they need to do offloading.
What is offloading?
Offloading means that it's on the foot. They don't want to put weight bearing on it, so they may suggest different things to do, such as shoes, or they don't usually put a total contact cast on the first visit. That's usually
Okay.
after a little bit. But they'll look at their different types of wounds and what they feel it is, and follow clinical guidelines for that.
Okay, yeah,
wound
whatever the
etiology.
protocol is to say,
Right.
okay, this is your situation, this is your medical history, this is what we're dealing with now, this is how we think we can work this in order to get this thing to start healing.
On that first visit, if it's a lower extremity wound, they'll try to ensure that there's perfusion, that there's adequate blood flow, because that may be some of the tests that they order otherwise. And they may do what's called debridement, which is just like remove the dead tissue from around or in the wound, and that kind of helps promote healing and growth. So that's all the first visit. Typically, you'll come back weekly.
Okay.
It depends on the provider and the wound and what's going on, but typically they'll come back weekly, and the plan of care may change based on what they're finding out from any type of test results, or from how the wound is responding to what they're doing. So aside from debridement and looking at maybe compression for some things, offloading is something that they do for diabetic foot wounds or for foot wounds. They'll also may look at cellular skin substitutes, which are things that they'll put into the wound to try to help it close and to promote healing.
Okay.
So those are the basic advanced wound therapies.
And then I'm assuming, Anne, that hopefully, if all goes well, the wound begins to heal. So maybe I would assume then that the weekly visits in some cases you don't have to go back as frequently if it's healing, once you get into that. I'm guessing, I'm asking.
Right. They want to try to come back. Typically it's weekly, but typically, as you're getting these weekly visits and weekly treatments, it's going to heal faster.
Yeah.
There are some that are longer, but the median days for the people that we treat is about 21 days.
Okay.
So, hopefully within 4 weeks or so, that will be healed.
Yep.
If not, because some of them are more complicated, more challenging, there are times where they may put them to every other week.
Okay.
But you're going to find that with the regular visits, that's what's going to get it to heal, and you want it closed
Good
as
enough.
quickly as you can.
Yeah. Do you ever work? I mean, the funny thing is when I think of wounds, only because my first several jobs were in nursing homes, I think of like decubitus ulcers from either, in layman's terms, you would call them bed sores, or for people who utilize a wheelchair and some, it's just that sitting. I mean, that can really be problematic.
Pressure ulcers are really tough, and it is for that's more prevalent in people that are immobile or obese.
Yep.
It's something that it starts to break down, and if that's another thing, if you're not kind of staying off it, it can get worse, where it can go down, deteriorate beyond the skin and epidermis into tendon and bone, and that's where you risk infection.
Yep.
So we do deal with pressure ulcers as well.
Yeah, those are hard.
It is hard, and it's hard for those that can't move.
Yeah.
That can't. That are stuck, and you have to get special types of cushions, or try to shift sides and regularly, not to stay on it. But that is that is something that takes a little bit longer often.
Yep. And so the other thing of which that kind of brings up, like, how do we prevent this from happening? Like, how do we not get to where we have to use a wound care center? What are some of the tips that, if the wound center, the staff there is able to get a wound healed with the, obviously with the cooperation and participation of the person, how do they prevent that from happening again?
Well, there's some things that you can do just in general to try to prevent it, especially for foot wounds. We mentioned before, like flip-flops and sandals aren't supportive. You want closed-toed shoes. You want good fitting shoes. Your doctor or podiatrist can help you if you have questions with it, direct you where to go. When you go to get new shoes, go in the afternoon or evening because your feet swell.
Yeah.
So if you get them first thing in the morning, the chances are they're going to be tight in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And you always want to wear socks with them. You want to wear cotton socks or a cotton blend and socks without seams because that will help minimize any rubbing and blisters. When you first get your shoes, and we've all done this, we got a nice pretty pair of shoes, we put them on and our feet are killing us and we've got blisters everywhere and you can't walk for like 3 days.
Yeah.
So you want
And what do
to
you
break
do?
them in.
Then you go barefoot too, because
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to put anything on your feet, which that's another thing you shouldn't be doing.
Exactly. So you want to make sure that, when you're first getting a new pair of shoes, that you break them in. Wear them like an hour or two, with socks and walk around in them just so that you kind of get used to them. They start to soften up. There's so many shoes out there now, like athletic shoes and sneakers that are good and supportive.
Yes.
And there's some of them are kind of even dressy looking.
Yeah, they're kind of cool looking. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny because I was thinking about that. I can remember as a kid, everybody in my family had foot problems. So we were always wearing, like they all looked like orthopedic, the old orthopedic shoes. And now there's just so many more styles to choose from. And, people are, I think the manufacturers have been, and the designers have been more sensitive to the fact that if people want a good supportive shoe, they also want something that looks nice. It doesn't have to be, it's not going to look like a, big stiletto or something, but, but it's something that looks nice. So we do have more options.
And before they put their shoes on, whether they're new or not, check them. Check them for any objects in them. Stones, anything like that. Check them out. Check the edges. Make sure there's no tears and things that'll kind of
or glue. Even in a new pair, like I've had new pair of running shoes where the glue, hardened, and now you've got this, and it's like, oh, where did that come from? Or sometimes the other thing that I've had too, and you can return them if you order like online is like the liner is wrinkled, but you can't get the wrinkle out. Well, that's going to rub. It's going to rub the bottom of your foot. So
it's going to have your foot hit differently, different spots.
Yeah, exactly. So all things to think about. So important with footwear for sure.
Right.
Okay.
And the other thing we mentioned before is daily foot checks.
Yeah.
It's so important to try to catch those things early. Walking barefoot, we mentioned, is a hazard.
Yeah.
But it's also a hazard with people with neuropathy in their feet. Walking on the pavement in the summer, they don't realize it's hot and they get burned.
Yeah.
So your foot actually, make sure you're washing your feet, washing between your toes. If your feet are dry, you can put lotion on, but don't get the lotion in between the toes.
Okay.
So you want to just make sure that you're taking care of the skin. The skin is the largest organ. You want to make sure that, you're kind of keeping it clean.
Yeah.
Clean socks also help.
Yeah.
You don't want to put in the car, this is more in the winter, where you may have your feet on the floor and you have the heat on high. You can burn your feet that way too.
Yeah.
That's happened.
Well, I think that's a huge, and it's a huge problem for older adults because they tend to, I think their skin tends to be desensitized. It also tends to thin as people age, so they are more likely to either get blisters or a cut or whatever, or a
skin tear.
A skin tear, yeah, absolutely. So people just need to be really careful about that. What about sort of summertime? I know we have this posted now in the senior center. So we have common summertime skin wounds, some of which I'm not sure that people think about this, but we talked about wounds for your feet and legs, but bug bites and allergies and sunburn and summer shoes. We just talked about flip-flops. And so what about things like bug bites and allergies? What are we doing with that here, Ann?
Well, bug bites are the big thing because as
Yeah.
We in New England are starting to come out in the nice weather after hibernating all winter. The bugs have come out too.
Yeah.
So, you want to make sure that they have bug spray, bug repellent to try to help avoid the bug bites. Long sleeve shirts, things that are also repellent will help you to try to minimize bug bites. But the big thing is, like, don't scratch it if you get bit. And that's hard. They have anti-itch cream that you can put on it. But I'm a scratcher, and sometimes I will scratch until it
all of a
bleeds.
sudden it's bleeding.
Yeah,
and
and
you're
all
going,
of a
"Oh my
sudden
gosh,
it's an
what did I
open
do?"
wound, and you risk infection. So you kind of want to keep an eye on that, make sure that it's healing up. If it's starting to swell, or if you're getting any type of allergic reaction to a bug bite, you're starting to your tongue is swelling, or you're getting fever,
hives, or
that's really the time to go get urgent care because you might have an allergy to it. And I know my husband just got stung by a bee the other day, and then I'm sitting there watching him. Now, he's never had an allergy before, but it's just like, I don't want this to be the first time.
And can that happen to can that happen to an adult where all of a sudden it's the first time and you're swelling up and you've never had that kind of reaction? I guess it depends on what bit you.
Yeah, and it depends on your system and what's going on, and because everybody's body and changes over time. Things that you didn't think you had an allergy to, all of a sudden, you find out you are. But you're right; it depends on what bit you, and if he got scratched along the way with it too, because it was my fault. He was trying to get this fence out of this bush. So,
well, it's interesting because sometimes you'll get bitten and you don't even realize. I remember my husband he got bitten by a spider, but he didn't know it. We didn't know it was a spider, but we were up in Maine and he was hiking. And he was changing his clothes the next day, and it was like on his back. It was like on his lower back, and so he didn't see it. And I said to him, he took off his shirt, he went to change and put on a fresh T-shirt. And I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And he said, "What?" And I said, "You've got this big lump. I mean, it was really swollen." I said. And he said, "Where?" And when he felt it, he went, "Oh my gosh!" He hadn't felt it. There was no pain. There was no itching, but it was red, and it was big. And so we ended up going, this was years ago, and we ended up going to, kind of an urgent care. That was when they first started coming out. And the doctor that saw it right away, he said, "Oh yeah, that's a spider bite." But it wasn't one of the, really bad spider bites to get. But he had an interesting, sort of home remedy treatment way of doing things. He had to put some ointment on, and then he had to put like saran wrap on it. Yep. And it within like 3 days, it started. It started to swell. It started to go down right away, and within 3 days, it was pretty much gone. You could just kind of see, where the spot was.
Saran wrap is different.
It was really different.
It
We had to use like surgical tape, and we taped it. He said we had to wash, obviously, keep it, and we had to change that like 3 times a day or something for several days.
Well, and the surgical tape is important because some people will use regular tape, and especially as you get older, that will just cause another
it rips the
issue.
skin. You take it off, it rips the skin, and now you've got another open wound that you really don't want really don't want to have. So all right, well let's we
all get bitten. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that the next morning is when you start itching. It's like, oh yeah, I guess they were out last night.
For sure.
So you don't realize it. So take precautions ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as you said, and we we've talked about this before because I've had Joe Rouse from the health department on when we get into we're into tick season now. So long sleeves, lightweight long sleeves, long pants, socks, and
shoes
or running shoes or hiking shoes or whatever.
Especially if you're walking like near bushes or in longer grass. I live down by the river, so we walk our dog down there, and I never go down with anything but long pants.
Right, exactly. So just precautions to take that way. And I think the other thing is, we didn't really talk too much yet, but about, sunburn. I mean, you just need to be really careful because, again, all of a sudden, it's red, and then now it starts to blister, and now it becomes itchy or painful, and you're rubbing or you're scratching, and before you know it, you've got open wounds. And, again, especially with an older population, especially with somebody who has either diabetes or vascular disease, where that blood, just what we're coming full circle, but just that lack of good blood circulation, it's the blood circulation that's really, as you pointed out, Ann, helping with the healing.
Right.
So,
and the fact that, fair skin. I can't tell you how many, I thought sunburn was the way to tan when I was growing up, because
Sure.
you'd sunburn and then it would tan.
Right.
But between, the sun exposure and skin cancer, skin cancer is more common than all the other cancers combined.
Yep.
So it's really important that you use sunscreen.
Yep. Protect yourself.
Yeah.
Wear a hat.
Wear a hat. Long sleeves. Again, it can be kind of loose fitting, but long
be
sleeves.
loose and lightweight.
Sit in the shade. Yeah. And even then, you're going to get some sun. It's going to reflect on you. Don't forget the feet. Especially you go to the beach, you put sunscreen everywhere and never on your feet. And so many people get the top of their feet
burned. Oh my
And then you
gosh.
can't put shoes on. It's uncomfortable to walk.
Yep. And that skin, that top of the foot skin, that is so I've done that.
Yeah.
Made that
Can you tell?
mistake. You only have to do it once, but man, I've made that mistake, and all of a sudden you look down, and the next day you're right. And I'm not a barefoot. I don't like to go barefoot. I don't go barefoot. So, but when nothing is comfortable, all you want to do is like wear my little isotoner slippers. That's like the only thing that is okay. But yeah, so I think, again, prevention is so important, to just be careful, especially in the summer. We've got bugs, we've got ticks, we've got sun. We
Well,
just
and
have
if
all
you do
these
get
things.
a sunburn, light sunburn, there's a lot of over-the-counter things that you can do.
Yep.
But if it's a bad burn and you start to, have fevers and chills and nausea, and that's when you really need to get emergency
Get professional
care.
help.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You don't want to tackle that on your own. So, Ann, do we have a phone number for the Wound Care Center?
Sure.
What would that be?
413-535-4740.
Okay. Once again.
413-535-4740.
Okay. And that is the Wound Care Center. It's at Holyoke. It's on the campus of Holyoke Medical Center, right?
We're at 18 Hospital Drive. We're right off the highway, easy to get to. We're a Monday through Friday operation.
Oh, good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we're not on the weekends, and
Yeah.
we're not at night. We're not emergency care, but it's a specialty
Monday through Friday.
program.
What are the hours?
8 to 4:30.
Okay, perfect.
And we have an awesome staff of really caring, compassionate nurses and providers who specialize in wound care.
And so, who do you just to wrap up, because we have about another minute left. So, what are the obviously you have physicians and
nurses.
Nurses, okay.
And then we work with. They're specialized in wound care. My medical director is wound care certified. Our staff has been there for years. They work with other providers, so it's multidiscipline, because we'll reach out if we need infectious disease or if we need vascular.
Okay.
We work hand in hand with your PCP. We keep them up.
Your primary care physician,
We keep
yep.
them up to date after every visit. We update them on what's going on. If there's other issues that aren't really wound care related, we'll work with the PCP that they, may want to address.
Perfect.
They'll look at your nutrition. They'll look at kind of everything. It's a holistic approach,
Yep.
multidiscipline approach, to work with you to get that wound healed and to keep you feeling safe.
Perfect. This is the brochure, and we have these at the Senior Center. This is the Wound Care Center. We also have a handout on common summertime skin wounds and how to prevent them. So those are also at the Senior Center. And
Now
Ann
you'll
is
have a handout on taking care of your feet.
Perfect.
So that you
yeah, thank you. No, that's really excellent. We're going to put that one right at the greeter's desk. Ann Johnson from the Holyoke Medical Wound Care Center, Program Director there. Thank you so much for coming in. This was great information. Everyone, stay healthy, be proactive. Try not to end up needing to use the Wound Care Center, but if you do, they're a phone call away.
Well, that's the important thing is there is help.
Yeah.
People live months or years with a wound that you don't have to.
Yeah, don't do that.
Just
You don't
call.
need to. Make the phone call. All right. We will be back next week is the third Wednesday. So Jen Jaffoon will be here, our registered dietitian, with our segment on Diabetes Dialogue. Until then, have a great week.
You keep saying you got something for me. Something you call love, but confess. You've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin'. And now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. yeah. You keep lying when you ought to be truthin'. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet. You keep saying when you ought to be a-changin'. Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. You keep playing where you shouldn't be playing. And you keep thinking that you'll never get burned. Ha! I just found me a brand new box of matches, yeah. And what he knows you ain't had time to learn. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. Are you ready, Boots? Start walking.